Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Aaron Knightley, and in today's episode I'm interviewing two exciting young entrepreneurs on my channel. They have taken their industry by storm, and there's going to be so much learning for all of us, so stick around, let's get into it. Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today's podcast is kindly sponsored by Xite Properties, who is the UK's leading discreet off-market property when it comes to buy-to-let sales, and all their links will be in the description below. So thanks for kindly sponsoring this episode. So guys, I'm welcoming Xite. So is Oliver and Megan, the owners of Xite. We've got their incredibly tasting drinks on the table here. So guys, it's amazing to have you on my channel. Thanks so much for coming on. I want to kick this off with obviously who you are, what you do, for those that might not know you.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thanks for having us as well.
Thanks for having us.
Do you want to go?
No, you kick it off.
Go
on.
So my name's Oliver. I'm sort of co-founder with Megan here of Xite Energy. My background is I'm a professional racing driver, athlete, so I go around the world driving race cars, and that's predominantly what I do most of my time, and it will come on to it, I'm sure, but that's sort of what ended up of this business coming to life. But yeah,
definitely. Essentially, Xite is a nootropic energy drink business. However, we've actually created a few more SKUs recently, haven't we? Mm-hmm. But we're all around nootropics and cognitive function. So we both started it together, didn't we? Gosh, how many years ago now?
A few years ago now, 5 years ago probably.
Probably about that. And yeah, it's just been growing since then. It was one of those things, it was kind of an idea, we fell into it, and then suddenly it just kind of skyrocketed, and here we are.
Yeah.
It seems like a business that has grown quite quick. So my first question to you guys, and for those watching that might see this new year as an opportunity to start a business, there are hurdles people have to jump. But how did you see this market gap? What pushed you to go? Because I've tried this drink, and I can say to everyone watching, it's really nice. It's very different from your Red Bull, your Monster. It doesn't have that sort of aftertaste kick. What made you see this gap in the market?
Yeah, I think it was probably, I've been racing, as I said, all my life, and I think for me, it was really looking for I was looking for products at the time that could help with cognitive function. I sort of went through the university days, there was a thing of study drugs, got introduced to nootropics, I was into fitness and going to the gym, so pre-workouts and things, I was buying lots of these sorts of products, and I was racing abroad quite a lot, often in the US, and they have different products out there, whether it's for sleep, focus, brain function, in this side of things, and I was probably naively, like most business entrepreneurs, I think you have a naive moment in time where I'm like, well, I'm surrounded by energy drinks. Obviously in racing they sponsor teams, Red Bull, Monster, like you said they're some big sponsors of the events, and you're just sat there thinking, why isn't there something better for you, whether it's healthier, cognitive, and like you said, taste is a big one. There's a lot of syrupy type products out there. And that for me was the naive moment where I was like, I could do better. Obviously not knowing sort of barriers to entry, distribution, how many cans have you got to get made, how do you formulate a drink, but just from like a very basic, there must be something better for cognition, there must be something that could taste better and be healthier. For me, that was the moment, wasn't it? And then we sort of talked about it. But
yeah, I can put it down to the moment that we decided that we were going to start, and we were in the car on the way to the gym, because we were both really heavily into our health and fitness as well, and we were drinking, I won't say who, but we were drinking another drink, and we were like, do you know what, this is like, there's so much rubbish in this, there's got to be something that's way better for you, has lots of like more added functions like nootropics, because we were really into it at the time, and we were like, should we do it? And then it kind of just went from there.
Yeah, well, it's a really bold move that you've made, because to actually sort of go ahead and compete with some big names, because that's what you're doing essentially, is a big move. And I think for someone else who is into their fitness and health, is you want to be taking on board something that you know is a little bit better than what's out there. So, the actual growth of your business seems to be quite quick. We'll get onto the socials shortly. But for you, when you launch this business, because essentially you're going up against, I would say, big brands, really.
Yeah.
How did you, or for those watching especially, when did you decide and how did you plan to launch this business?
I mean, I think, say we naively jumped into it. I think the idea in the way we thought about it was naive, but I think then that's really when we started the sort of research into the industry, looking at analytics. I was thinking, okay, we like this product. Does anyone else like this product? I think the first thing you should probably do it in a business is a competitor analysis, really. Has someone done it before? Else what's the point in doing it? So we went through that. It was probably 12 months of looking at other competitors, who's in the space, I thought if I could just find a company, I might have invested in that company instead, or just bought their products in essence, as you would as a consumer. So I think that was looking into that side of the data and just seeing there wasn't anything in the market, and I think that's when we then went a bit deeper in.
And we did quite a bit of groundwork, to be honest. Like, I remember the first couple of months, actually feet on the streets. Even when we were going to the gym, we were handing out like questionnaires and asking the people around who are in the same industry, like obviously into the health and fitness, wanting something a bit better for them. We were kind of asking these series of questionnaires, and each time we'd learn from the questionnaire and then rejig it, and essentially at every opportunity to kind of go out and ask people, that's what we did.
So you've been very boots on the ground. I think what we've only sort of just met, but what I can already tell instantly is you're action takers, and I think this is a big thing. And I have so many conversations where you hear many ideas and you think, oh my God, go for it. Really go out there and put yourself out there. I mean, how you obviously, are quite comfortable putting yourself out there and taking action, but how important has that been for your business to get amongst it?
I'd say really important. You've literally just hit the nail on the head. Like, to take action, it's one thing sat there. Me and Ol could have sat there in the car and been like, oh, we want to make this product, and never
died.
Yeah, exactly. But we did, and sometimes it's actually, even for me, I was literally 21, just out of uni, and to go up and ask strangers and stuff even was like quite a big thing. But once you do it, it's taking that step, because then it leads to another step, which leads to another step, and it becomes quite like fluid and natural then, really.
And I think it's one of those things, unless you start, where do you ever know? And I think we were quite happy to start. And if in 6 months after the research and stuff didn't happen, it was a waste of time. But you probably learned something along the way anyway. I'm still a believer in that now. We've got big ambitions and we're growing very fast. But I often say to us, the amount we'll learn on the journey will be worth it, regardless of the outcome. So
you won't want to live with regret. And you've said something that all my guests say is it's a journey. I keep picking up on this word, but there's a journey. You ride it. There's going to be hurdles. You've got to jump. So something that I like to touch on with every guest, because I really want to emphasise this to the audience, is the importance of marketing and branding. So both of you have a very good, person of key influence in your industry, across your socials. How important has it been to grow and really market yourselves?
I think, probably in this particular industry, I guess, energy drinks, we're up against, like you said, the biggest people in the world. They are, in essence, what are they now? They're marketing companies, really. They make people jump from space, in essence, and you think we've got to compete with that. So for us, it was really thinking, in this new digital first era, how can we compete at scale? And I think the only way new businesses like this can enter competitive markets now is digital first. We've got access to influencers that have millions of eyeballs looking to them and looking up to them. If you were to start this business 5 years ago, you probably couldn't have entered the market, because I think you would have such big barriers to entry. A TV ad costs millions and millions, and you're not even targeting the right people. So I think the digital first movement now is opened up a lot of doors.
Because traditional out-of-home marketing just doesn't work in the same way, and especially for a small startup, it's a lot of investment. Whereas, like you were saying, digital, a lot of it's, if you're clever about it, a lot of it's free. Obviously, as you scale and you get ambassadors on board and you look at paid advertising online and stuff, obviously it's different, but there's stuff you can do which actually doesn't cost a lot, and you can learn a lot from it as well.
It's quite energizing, actually, because I think you fit your brand very well, because you've got a really good energy about you. The fact that you're I suppose really putting yourselves out there, and I think that's where so many businesses could do well, but you've just said it there, is that they are held back because they don't want to, or maybe they're not admitting to themselves that they need to move with the times. And I think we were saying it off camera, it's a pain, it's a pain to do a story, but it is essentially swapping the old school way of marketing, newspaper, radio. Can you stick me out on that? This is the new way of marketing. So what would be your top tips for someone who is starting a business, that marketing is something you need to get comfortable with?
I think, for me, it's authenticity. I think the biggest thing I've learned recently, we watch brands and how they do well, some new brands in the UK, and I think a lot of what they do is authentic now. I think gone are the days, and we've tried really polished cinematic videos. We're like, cost a fortune. We're like, isn't that amazing? And everyone's like, we don't really care. They'd rather just me and Meg like, hey, this is the drink and this is what it's about. So that would be my biggest thing, is be authentic. But
to be honest, I really would agree with that. Like, you can waste Because you might think, I remember we fell into the trap of it, like, oh, we got to get like five camera crew, we need to like create this amazing cinematic video, everyone's gonna love it, it's gonna generate loads of sales, and then it goes online and it flops. And then a video of me like, hey guys, like, do you know what, I'm so passionate about nootropics, I'd love you to try it. It creates a lot of, you know.
It's funny, isn't it?
Yeah.
Being the face, just like picking, and I always say this, is that your stories should be allowing your audience to get to know you. You know, bringing that sort of closeness in. You know, if you buy into that brand, who's actually behind that brand? And the old school way, they never used to do that. It was very corporate. It was kind of that shop. You know,
it was almost, you could
banner.
never see in, could you?
No.
Like, there's a company, but you don't know who that is.
You never meet the director.
Yeah.
You don't meet the
You
owner.
wouldn't even
You know,
know, no.
God no. So that is really important. And what would be your, I suppose, top tips, you know, 1, 2 or 3, whatever it might be between you, of someone who is on the verge of taking action but hasn't quite pulled the trigger? You know, what would you say to them?
No, you go first, you can have one.
Oh gosh, okay.
On the spot, on the spot, yeah.
Yeah.
Pressure.
Well, no,
Dealing with
the
pressure.
first one would be, is obviously after you have got to a point where you've done all of your research and you're in a comfortable place. It sounds so cringy and so many people say it, but you've actually got to go past your comfort zone. I know a lot of people say it, but that's something I've learned a lot, is that it was easy for me to not do that and to stay quite stagnant, and like just to push yourself to, it can be something so small, like ring that person that you've been putting off for a while, or like get in touch with someone, and not be afraid to just, you're gonna feel a bit uncomfortable sometimes, but it's worth it, like it's so worth it.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with that. And I think my second biggest one would probably be listen to a wide audience around you, but maybe not the people closest to you. And I say that, I think, because sometimes in your closest circle, they know you, they know what you're doing. Sometimes you don't get the best feedback. Either they're too kind to you, or sometimes they think, well, it's probably not possible, and that's not what you want to hear either. But I think if you speak to a wider market, do your research with people you don't know. Give your products, especially if you've got a product or service, give it to people who may be looking for that, and just get their honest feedback. And I think that would be, that's the way I think to acid test if you've got something that's going to work or not, and could save you a lot of time in the future, isn't it?
Also, just off the back of that, like even if it's not necessarily a product that you want to launch, or like, you know, you're going into different sectors, just like building that network and just getting to know people, because people are out there who are interested and want to help you. So why do it on your own and suffer kind of a long journey when someone could give you the answers and they're happy to do it? Like, that's definitely something I'd say as well.
Yeah, networking is huge.
For sure.
Yeah, this is something I you know, my audience will get bored of it, but that's something I always go on about, is your network.
Yeah.
You know, and I really sort of say the fact that, you know, there are some really wealthy people but are really generous. You know, I think when people have done very well, whether that's, you know, they become an influencer, there are some snobby people in every sort of aspect, but some people who have done very well are willing to help. And I quote it again, there's an underlining rule that entrepreneurs help other entrepreneurs and business owners, and you really find that out when you ask, and if you're willing to give more than you take. So it's all really interesting, really valuable. And going on to more the business side of things now, because obviously you're thrown into it when you start a business. You don't know everything. You're not, you know, the CEO, the editor, the marketer. You become everything. You have to learn that. Yeah. But how important has it been to know the numbers? Because I know people go, oh, I want to do this, but I don't want to know the numbers. Yeah. How important to stay close?
Well, it's funny actually that you say that, because Ollie is far more the commercial, because in the business, for my side, I actually say, for example, I developed that product. I was actually in our makeshift lab doing all of the kind of ingredients, flavour testing, sampling and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I actually made the drink, no. But then Ollie was like, he was our numbers guy. Like, you know, you took over the commercial, made sure that we actually could make profit. Yeah. So I'll give that over to you, I think.
I think what I would say is I'm not a lover at maths especially, but financially I think I'm a fag packet guy. I think if I can't work it out really quickly from a business point of view in sort of 3 or 4 lines of numbers, if it's going to make money or not, I probably wouldn't do it. So I think for me, that's the biggest thing. I think if you can't understand, you know, your gross, and then what's it roughly going to cost you to do business, and can you sell enough, and how many do you need to sell, I think if you can't answer those questions, you need to dig a bit harder, because I think for this, it's quite easy to know how much does a can cost, how much do we cost to market and sell it, and then what is the potential profit. But then you know, especially in this business, it's a volume business. If we're in, you know, even if we were in 1,000 stores, this business would never work. We need to be in tens of thousands of stores. And I think that's a reality. We had to know from day one, you know, this isn't just a mum and pop store type of drink. It needs to be in all the supermarkets and all the convenience stores for it to work. And I think going into it, you need to know that, and how many years could that take to get there. And then do you want to suffer the pain to do it?
Well, that's it. You know, can you stick through it? As a fairly new business, because it is fairly new in the grand, you know, it's not a 20, 30 year business. So when you're still in this growth period, and the vision is there to do this and do that, what kind of timeframes do you aim towards? You know, do you look at a 3-year plan? Obviously you have this where we would love to be in 10, 20 years, but how you actually sort of navigate through, what's kind of your goal process?
I think it changes. I think we found it changes as the business matures. I think initially you're like weekly, you're like, what are we doing next week, what are we doing today? And then the horizons get forever bigger, and now we're into marketing campaigns for the year and the future, in things that really before it was ad hoc. It was like, if you said what's the marketing campaign next month, I'd be like, you tell me. So I think it changes, doesn't it, over time?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think at the moment, currently we know 3 years in the future where we want to be, but yeah,
things change fast, don't
they do, especially in FMCG businesses. I think it's like they just change so quickly. Like one listing can take you 3 years into your plan, or 5 years, depending on what the listing is and what your goals are and how quickly you get them. So it is quite difficult to kind of, obviously you've got your forecasting, don't you, but
and we're dictated in this business in industry by retail windows. So the big supermarkets will change their range every year. So you have a window. So you plan to, say you're contacting 5, maybe you get 2 that year, but then you wait a whole another year to talk to them again. So that can be quite time consuming. Or you might be nearly there 1 year and they're like, next year. And you what do you do for a year? I think
you have to be on the heels of it, basically.
You do.
Definitely.
Stay in the know.
For sure.
I want to touch on, I suppose, more on the mindset of people in the day and age that we're in, where there are so many options for people. You know, when you have that, I don't know about you, but I was always at school. I came away with absolutely nothing at school. You know, didn't like school, but I knew I wanted to do more. I just knew that I couldn't sit still. But even back then, I mean, I'm only talking, 16 sort of years ago or whatnot, that there wasn't so much in our face through social media. You can do this, you can do that, you can start a business, you can become a millionaire overnight, I promise you, that kind of thing. What would you say to those who, perhaps starting out and they're like, I just can't settle, but there are so many options, I have no idea what I want to do. Do you just go through a process of ticking things off, but try and not spend too much money? How do you navigate so many options?
I think we talked about this last night, didn't we? We was talking about sort of compounding last night, and we got onto it from talking about shares and compound interest and all this. And I was saying, actually, when you look at life, a lot of it is compounding, and I think social media's only problem is it looks as if you would see this brand, you're like, oh, they've done that in such a short period, that's amazing. But it's not. It's small decisions over years and years and years, which then makes it look quite impressive. And I think that's one thing people need to think of, is when they're getting into something, really think, can you be doing that for that period of time? And it's like, can you stick to that and keep going as fast as you can, isn't it?
And also, importantly, from that, if you don't like it, if you've made that decision, you've taken that action, and you're like, do you know what, this actually isn't for me, that it's so important to just draw a line, move on, because it's so easy to stick with something, being like, well, it could, maybe I will, I might like it. And
even with the online world, you don't want to show face of quitting sometimes, and I think
there's a pressure.
There's a pressure. In the UK, we seem to have that, and I race a lot in the States, and it's so different there. When I'm in the States racing, they're like, just quit that, man, let's get on to the next thing, and they're just like, almost if you quit, they see it as better. They're like, you failed that one, let's do another. And I think that's something to be aware of.
Because I think there's a lot of pressure as well with timelines, almost like if you haven't done this by this age, you are a failure. And I think although COVID has, I suppose, fast forward technology and businesses to advance and adapt, it's been brilliant in that sense. I've also seen a lot of people where they've not really done anything, and what they've done is they've consumed all of these overnight millionaires, and now they're like, I've got no chance. Because I can't do what they do. How are they doing it? So how does someone combat, also fighting the fact that we are looking at reels and social medias in our face?
Yeah, I think it's just being selective with the content you consume, because unfortunately we've had this conversation so many times, and I just think it's just being selective and being self-aware and actually having a bit of self-discipline, which sounds crazy, but there's no getting away from social media now.
No.
There's no getting away from that like quick scrolling, consuming. So then just being aware of what's beneficial to you and what's actually going to be like, you see someone that's like, I made 3 million this week, and you're like, right, that's actually not helpful. Because
and a lot of the time, do they exist? I don't meet these people. I mean, like you meet a lot of business people, and you can tell the ones that are working, they've worked for 20 years and grafted. So it's different.
This is what I really try and stress, is the fact that, and I work with set clients that, don't get me wrong, they made a lot of money in the 80s and stuff, and even before, but there is a common theme around all of them. And even look at all the billionaires, there's only a very small percentage that are less than 30. Most of the people that I personally know that have made real wealth, they're all 40, 50, if not 60. So this whole timeline, and I think also what's counterproductive, I don't know what your thoughts are as we sort of come to finalise here. What's your thought on this hustle 24/7, 7 days, Gary V? If you eat and you have 4 hours sleep, you're a failure. What you're doing? How do you work around that?
I mean,
I'm a
get
bit
me
of a
wrong.
workaholic, so I'm the wrong one to ask. But
and also I do love Gary Vee, but I understand that. I understand where you're coming from. No, I completely get it. Like, well, even you have balance, for sure, and it's not getting wrapped up and consumed in that. Like, it's not realistic. Just because you wake up at 4 a.m. doesn't make you a better person than everyone else. Doesn't mean you're working harder. It just, why not work smarter? For me particularly, I find it difficult to concentrate for long periods of time. I couldn't do it. Like, my brain just does not allow me to do that. So I do things in like in hour bursts, and then I'll do something that I know needs doing but isn't necessarily like laptop based or something, so that I'm switching up my work throughout the day. But I'm not going to wake up at 5 a.m. I can do everything I need to do.
Takes fighting for a morning.
I think what's quite clear and what I really like about you two is, and I relate to this, is you seem very content in who you are, and I think content is also the result of high performance people, because if you're not competing and racing against someone you can't actually see, you're comfortable in the speed of your own journey, and you two seem very content. And I think that's something that I'd really stress to the audience, is actually get comfortable in knowing that you're not racing against other people.
Definitely. And actually, if we're being honest, I think we've 100% had times where we're like, the business isn't where we wanted it to be at this point. Like, it's annoying, we've made some mistakes, it's really pushed us back. Like, we've done a couple of rebrands, but that's okay. But like you say, as long as you're not comparing yourself to other businesses or like people your age, it's fine. We're still doing, our journey's going well. Just because it's different to someone else's doesn't mean it's not,
And I think it's that thing again, is everyone's on their own road at their own pace, but there's only one fork in the road. I've been in positions sometimes where one thing has changed my life completely, and you don't know when that is in your journey. So I think just go at the pace you are, and one day it might speed up faster than you want. So just keep at it and just keep going.
Things come back round.
Things
Compound
come back
effect happens at some point.
Definitely.
Guys, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on my channel. Really, really enjoyed this episode. And if anyone watching wants to reach out and connect with you, where can they go?
Best place, social media, isn't it?
Yeah, LinkedIn, I guess.
LinkedIn, Xite Energy. I'm 42 Bennett, which is my race number. So you'll find me racing cars. But yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for coming on, and awesome drinks. Go check them out, and energy bars and all sorts. But thanks for watching. I hope you got as much value as I did, and we will see you all very soon.